We'll start with the call hearing on the James Wallace Ditch in Van Buren Township. Is there anybody here to comment on it? Oh, Mick? Oh, okay.
So I prepared the severity report in regards to the James Wallace Ditch that went on acres in 1971. Our fund balance is $2,333. The last work to be performed actually was between 1981 and 82. There was only 594 benefited acres with 15 parcels. So not very many people at all. So it only brings in $516.78 a year at 87 cents an acre. So I had a landowner ask that ditch could be cleaned. And so we did open up bids last month, to see where it would fall in at, but still we tabled that until we had a hearing and raise rates, and then we can award that bid. So for the hearing purposes, I proposed $7 an acre with a $20 minimum, and everyone received their letters, so they had a chance to write written objections or come to this meeting. So, also in your packet, you'll see that there's a map. I also have my specs that was bid out last month, just for your information too. So it's just a matter of if we go ahead and agree with the $7 an acre, if we wanted to adjust it.
There's only 500 and some acres that benefits from it.
Yes.
516.
516.
Oh, would the landowner rather hire it done themselves and pay the contractors, or have the county take care of it and raise their rate?
Well, it's already a maintained ditch, so it's been, it's our jurisdiction, not, I mean, they could, usually if they wanted to, but, I spoke with the one that came, and I know he had a conversation with other landowner, and they didn't seem to have an issue with raising the rates. I mean, at 87 cents, it's time, so as to what we raise it to. And even at, if we lowered it, it's looking at even if it was $6 or $5 an acre, we're still going to be, if we paid the contractor the $6,100, because that was our lowest bid, we'd be in the red a year and a half at that. And then if we went down to $4, we'd be 2 years in the red. But I mean, I had no objections. Like I said, and each landowner received a letter, and it shows their benefited acres and what it would be. So they had all that information up front, so it's just a matter of how we want to deal with that. The good thing is we get the work done and we reach the 4 times annual assessment, then we can take it off of production, and it may, of course, have it being cleaned, which do spray and stuff. So I mean, there's a possibility that it's not going to be, we're not going to be paying continuously in years. It's going to
That makes sense to you, Mick? Need a motion in the James Wallace.
well, first we would need on the hearing to raise the rate to have the $7 an acre and $20 minimum. We'll do that first, and then we can motion to accept the bid.
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed $7 an acre.
Second that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then now that would bring us to awarding the contract with Gateway Leaders and excavating for $6,100. these rate increases will take effect next year, so. When we first did this, the deadline, because there was speed restricts and stuff, so I had a deadline when we let this out like in September. But I'm gonna change that to March 1st of next year, this way there's plenty of timing, because they can, if it's all understood, they can do it now, they can, wait till the end of the year, just depends on their schedule, so at this point, definitely put March 1st deadline.
I make a motion to approve the one contract.
I'll second the motion.
Been a motion and a second to accept the boot line bid. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. DeSabatine. I don't think it's on. Oh, yeah, maybe they will.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. I have kind of been involved down at the city park. This is just a thing we talk about here. And we need to put some drainage in down. I kind of guess I am the newly appointed one of the spearheaders of this thing for the tractor pull thing and around through the Brad Sellers, we did some surveying on it. And we are going to put just ground surface drainage is what we're going to do. I briefly talked to you about it. Yeah. And I didn't want to put Jenny on the spot of this, so I thought I would come here and maybe present it to you guys briefly. I've went around, I've met with a few, I met with a few different people. Anyway, Fracco has said that they would donate some tile to the fair amount of tile to this project. Every year we go down there, every year we take dozers down there, and Gary gets caught having to do several things down there to help with the drainage of it. I mean, the park has become very nice, very usable, and it just needs some upgrading on the drainage. But I guess I'm here now that I presented all that. I'm kind of going around to Power the Past. I'm hoping these guys will help out a little bit. The town's talked about helping out some. The park board doesn't have a lot of money, but they said they would do what they could. I was just wondering if there's any funds whatsoever that the county could kick in a little bit, whatever possible, to help make this project possibly happen to improve the city park. I don't know if there's anything available. If not, I understand. But, I thought I'd present in front of everybody so nobody thought I was going behind the scene to do anything. I want to be in front of the whole thing. I've had several, power passes, want to throw in, Fracco's phenomenal about what they're offering. So, different things, and I just hope the county could help out a little bit if it's possible. Anybody got any thoughts on that?
Hey, what you,
Well, I looked, I was trying to think, unless if the county took jurisdiction over this, there's nothing that I think I can take for like donating money to it, to help out. And I think that's something I do not want to do since it's in town. Take have jurisdiction over that.
It's pretty well established by the town and such now too.
Right, and plus if we did, we would be actually charged with this too, that one besides the town, so that kind of piece of business. That's when I thought.
Well, I didn't know if the county had a general fund where they could say, okay, hey, we'll throw in $500,000 or something like that towards the community project there of some sort. I mean, it's just thought. Ask everybody, and what's the worst thing to say? No, get lost.
I was just about to say, get lost, Rudy. Darn it.
Really, I think it goes back to you need to come up with
Yes, yes, and Brad and I are doing that. Brad and I are doing that. And I'm not asking anybody to give me X amount of dollars. I'm just saying, if you have anything, is it possible that you can contribute somewhat? Yes, I am. We are at a X amount.
I know you have, I know you have.
Well, would that be something that council money for?
I would say probably.
That would be
so.
my thought.
I don't think the drainage board is the correct thing, but since I got the drainage board and you folks here at the same time, is what I thought I would bring it up and just set the scene for starters.
Yeah. Well, and they've got budget hearings going on right now. So, I mean, this probably would be the time to mention it to council.
And as Gary said, I'll do that. I can, I've cut the project in half because of the amount of tile Krakow donated. It's massive. I mean, really. But I was there for the fair. I was there for the pass. It seems like everybody's walking to a tunnel.
Highway. County.
That's right. More than, there's more than one entity involved in it other than just the county. Yeah, sure. I understand.
Part of being important. Part of being important.
There's like 800 feet. We're gonna try to do different lines going into the river. One for over by the pulling thing, and then it goes over to the grandstands where they have the Queen pageant and stuff. There's a big puddle there, and the other one is gonna be farther south that goes into a different area. There's about 800 feet of 8-inch tile, and I think there's another 700 or 800 feet of 6-inch tile for little branches off here and there, in which we can clean up some. But Krakow, right now, they verbally said they supply the tile. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice enough that it's something that you don't want to just drop the ball, you know what I mean? The only other thing, and I hear tell that maybe if the company puts it in, they might reduce the labor expenses on installation. That's me, Mike.
Have you talked that over?
Oh, I haven't mentioned it to Bob, but he'll be fine. He'll be just fine.
You
So
don't have,
there's-
you don't have an
there's-
estimate though, or anything like that yet on what that
We
would
came
be?
up with, Brad wants to put nice steel grate manholes there, so if trucks and tractors and things drive over it, it doesn't damage anything. But we came in ballpark of about 10 grand total, that included tile and all. So right now we've got knocked down about 5,000, so it's not a lot of money. To try to. But it could be this way. It's not gonna be cheap.
Is there any fund that you have at all?
I mean, we can't use the general fund maintenance for that, or even GDI, we borrow from that, and we have to pay that back, so. I don't believe I do, I guess that would, you know. I'd have to say, unless, you know.
Power of the House is on board, but they said, how much do you want? I said, I don't want to do how much do you want? What are you willing to do? And we kind of left it at that until I kind of met with you guys and kind of, you know, really got, as Barry said, got a concrete price on the thing. And Brad said, well, maybe the town will supply the manholes and stuff like that. We could just a little 2-foot things of that sort. So let me,
So this would, I mean, this is in the town, so, I mean, city limits, so this would typically be a town cost, correct?
yes, but at this point, not everybody wants to flip the whole cost by themselves. I said, it's kind of silly to just drop the ball and keep wallering through the mud. And
Have they given you an amount that they're willing to come up with, the town?
I have not asked
No?
anybody for an amount. I have not said that. I said, never went and said, would you give me this much money? No, I have not. I'm just presenting the thing,
Right.
kind of set the seed on what we're doing.
But where did this initiate, Rudy? Maybe you said it. Who initiated this work? Where did this need come
Well,
from?
in the second time they called us up to bring the bulldozer and to scrape the mud off.
Who called you?
Hour of the past.
Okay,
I said, how do we fix this? The money that you spend every year to have us come in here, we could look towards this would help a lot.
mhm. So Power from the Past initiated it, and now you're just kind of,
And I did myself. I said, it's time to fix it. The Band-Aids we're running out of Band-Aids, let's fix it.
mhm.
Kind of what I said. So that's why I'm taking the initiative on
Right.
my own to come here.
Okay. So Brad didn't say no, he just wanted to know
No,
what
not
you
at
would
all.
need.
He's
Okay,
thrilled to death. The town would be thrilled to death to get it done. Absolutely. Works pretty nice. Okay,
okay,
food for thought. You guys, you don't have to make any decisions on anything. And I will be back in a month or so with better ideas, because I told him this would be a fall project after everything's over and done. And come in and see what we can come up with, okay?
Just keep us up to date on.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Would that be something that you should maybe go to the council and ask for some money, just pay accountants?
That's-
Maybe they have something. Right, 'cause it's tied up to the ditch.
Regular.
I mean, it's still county, but just.
The town and
I will. I'd be happy to.
okay. Thanks, Rudy. Mhm,
I need to go.
mhm.
Sure.
Thank you.
drainage agreement.
Okay, so I will let Mr. Murray address that. You guys have a copy of Adrian's.
Mhm.
After talking to Mr. Shellman after our last meeting, he got a hold of me, and I know that they're relying on this agreement. And, on the first page, I think, at the bottom of paragraph B, it seems that they're relying on this language that they can approach on themselves by the drain maintenance, right, the way the word and things are. I just wondered, get that microphone closer to me.
I'm not gonna say it. But I think no matter what, we always have to look to our leases, our contracts, our statutes to interpret everything. And I just want to save us all time and argument about what ifs and all these things, and look to the document. Indiana's a four corner state. Four corners document, can look no farther than that. So keep that in mind when you're looking into these things and how we need to basically go by what they say. So now, I wasn't involved in the negotiations of these leases. I don't think anybody that was on this board right now, I don't know, Mike, if you signed off on this or not, but I know Mr. Tankersley took care of the, not throwing you on the spot here.
Yeah.
There were a lot of negotiations and a lot of things went on, what I understand and and I just wanted to lay this in front of you so you know that these are the terms that you have to live by. These are the terms that you had an opportunity to object to after 30 days. I think there's language in here about that. And these are the terms that Mr. Shellman emphasized to me is what they had been living by. here to make that presentation.
I have a question. So where does this contract fall in line with Indiana code that says 75 feet? Tim, does this?
The code also says you can agree to let someone encroach on it too. I pointed that out at the last meeting. There's statutory language that allows the board, the drainage board, to allow encroachments. Now, I don't know what was taken into consideration or not when this language was put into this. I don't. I wasn't there. I wasn't involved in it. So I think it's in, if you interpret it under the statute, if I was going to interpret it under the statute, one way you could say that the board approved encroachments on the 75 feet. They signed this. Now, I don't know what they contemplated with that encroachment because we weren't involved, in those discussions. And so I don't know, but that's on its face. That's what it says. Not knowing anything.
We definitely want the fight. We want good draining.
I don't think the drainage is in jeopardy. I think it's not the drainage so much that's in jeopardy. It's the arguments about the fence and the placements, panels and things like that on top of. I mean, you can bury things and not be an encroachment on drain or on an easement. I don't think drains cut through all of our easements, and we don't consider anything buried. I don't think encroachments, and I haven't looked that up under the statute to see if they are. But we certainly don't think that drains that cut through every ditch bank that has a 75-foot easement, thousands in the county, we don't consider those encroachments. Those are necessities. So I guess if I was going to argue encroachments that you need to be worried about, it would be those that are above ground and not those that are below ground that aren't going to get in anybody's way. Or you wouldn't think so.
This is league's agreement.
Well, that's a past agreement that was approved in 2022. We are looking to approve, maybe not an actual agreement itself as one, but in the official ordinance document is what we're looking at now. And so there's not separate agreements and an ordinance agreement where there's multiple documents to go in for information. We got one and that's it. So, I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of learning to do, stuff like that. So we're looking to get that changed for future projects, but I mean, it still would be nice because that was the intent of those documents, was the 75-foot right of way. So,
And I,
With the other permits, there is similar agreement language was.
I don't have all that information. I think I'd have to defer to the county attorney and his files. I don't have all those. I wasn't privy to that information. Right.
What's your suggestion?
on that drainage agreement, a lot better. I mean, there was a lot of, we were involved in some discussions, others we were not, and, I mean, we put in our 2 cents when asked, and that's what we got.
We did hear today that he
Yes,
is working with
contract. Stop work.
within the 75 feet. We did hear that today. Am I correct?
we did, but I think what you're going to get, because I attended the meeting on Wednesday, and Casey, the project manager, was clear to, he stated that they have made some changes to some of the plans on those 7 or 8 ditches that were within the 75 feet. and that when they have first one or two done, we will be welcome to come out and look at those. I asked, Tim from BS also asked about the engineering plans. They were not, it appeared that those, Casey didn't feel like it was necessary that we see the engineering plans before we go out and just approve changes that they had made, which Tim and I both vehemently disagreed with, that the engineering plans need to be approved before those changes take place around the ditches. I was anticipating that if we tried to support or didn't budge from our 75 feet, that there may be legal challenge by the developer. That was how I interpreted that conversation. So I guess it depends, you know, Mike, you say 75 feet is 75 feet. I think if we say 75 feet is 75 feet, regardless of what this contract says, they are going to probably challenge us to challenge the drainage board or whoever it is that
That's the
attorneys
message-
challenge.
That's the message
You receive that too. So I guess it comes down to how hard do we as commissioners and as a drainage board want to fight for the residents of Pulaski County? Are we going to do like we did on the 150-foot setbacks from the fence and say, well, the language was vague, even though the intent was clearly by Nathan Orger and Carla Redwick, the intent was 150 feet for all components. We caved on that one. Because we were worried about a legal challenge. And so here we are again. And this is,
Well, we gotta have some heat, they get dirt put on their plainest. There's no, we gotta have 75. I mean, if they want another panel, they can stack them on top.
The plans did not show any other encroachments that I am aware of, saying that they were going to be, say, maybe, say 50 feet. You know, it all should have been 75 feet, and that was it. So if there were to, you know, encroachments desired, then they should have came and asked, show the plan, and asked, you know, if they could get permission for that.
Well, there's, I just don't see any other way you can get 150 feet. Other half equipment.
and Mike, are you saying that on maintained and unmaintained ditches currently? Because I know, Jenny, your intent was at some point these ditches could become a maintained ditch.
Well, I
So
don't
you're-
think we can dictate private. So. Go down. But maintain ditches, unmaintained ditches, we get them, someday they petition and the drainage board takes them and about 75 back from the drain. Up and make it.
And that first standard would be to remove the fence.
Oh, that's what I said. So then the county won't accept the ditch.
So Jenny, these first ditches that they're looking at, are these all maintained ditches that you're concerned about?
Yes, that was my intent, that they're looking at all just to maintain ones in that area. I think they were starting
Okay.
south, maybe south.
Okay. Yeah.
That's usually where the fences are.
And as far as I learned, from what I learned Wednesday, they had only, I'm going to say, I think they had only really looked at one, that they had a remedy for one of them. But again, they want us to come look at them, but they don't want to show us yet the engineering plans. I think they said it would take some time to get the engineering plans back, and we can't delay work while we're waiting for those. And Tim and I both disagreed. that the work should be delayed until those engineering plans have been provided.
Right, well then, so it kind of sounds like they are going to go ahead and make the alterations and then have us come out and look at it, but what if the alterations still only 75 feet? That's kind of wasted money, wasted time.
And that was our comment there. Don't waste your time starting, because it's not going to be one of these, well, we did it, now just forgive us. Because that's how I took that conversation to go. We're going to do it. You can come out and look at it. And then again, it's, sorry, it's too late. And I disagree with that completely. So I guess if we want as a board to say, you're going to comply with the 75 feet on maintained ditches on all parts of that, because they kind of weave in and then they weave out, so some places they may be, but other places they're not going to be. I think we just need to understand that we will have a legal challenge as a board.
I think you can interpret this two different ways. I think you can interpret it one way, that encroachment issue that they're taking it as they can build upon. You could also, I know everyone's going to think, yeah, there goes the lawyer, three different ways you can argue about it. But if you read the paragraph as a whole, I think you can make just as feasible an argument that in connection with the development, construction, operation, or maintenance of the project, that in the course of and then you jump down to 5, in the course of performing said activities. So, I mean, it can be interpreted in a way that might not allow permanent structures to be built in the 75-foot encroachment. But it can also be interpreted, I think, or that they can, depending on how this was supposed to be.
And what part does intent play legally? Because if the intent was,
That's what I want
doing
to
it.
point out, is that's where for 4 corners, intent should have been written into it as far as that goes. Can't go beyond the document now. Try to interpret it.
So the code itself would supersede this agreement?
I can't speak to that. I'm not sure how, if the code not. You can certainly, as long as it's not an illegal. The code, we keep going back to the code, but I want to also say that the code allows the board to grant permission to encroach upon 75 foot. Get that. I mean, we keep going back to the code, but I think we keep forgetting that it also allows, and that's where, and that's where this can go both ways. The code allows the encroachment of the 75 feet if the board approves it. Then you can also interpret this as, well, maybe it just gave them the, did it just give them the opportunity to drive across the encroachment? And that's what they were doing. I don't know, but I'm, in all fairness, I got to present to the board as legal counsel. You could interpret this 2 different ways, which only lends to more confusion. And what do we do? Questions. But I can't sit here on my thumbs and not tell you that if you read that paragraph as a whole, it could possibly go 2 different ways. And I don't know which way it was intended to be.
Well, we know which way it was intended to be, because Jenny said but you just said intent doesn't leave the 4 corners of the page.
I understand that. So like I said, I don't know which way that was supposed to be intended to have developed. So.
Me speaking in
But Mr. Shellman certainly believes it gives them the right to
Sure.
build on the 75-foot easement. I can tell you that. They believe that.
as far as my position is, dealing with ditches on a daily basis is, so the county has jurisdiction over all maintained ditches, 75 feet, and that was the intent. And I think that we just need to stand firm on that. I mean, as everybody, in agreement to stand firm on it, and they follow it. And if they don't, then the project just stays delayed, I guess.
Well, either, I don't know if it's gonna be delayed, they gotta know that they're gonna be getting dirt on their fence, on their, they can go, they just have to more or less kiss our rear when we throw dirt on them. panels.
They're all probably have pretty much, just were changed, it was cool that was initially back in 2022. And I guess, I mean, I feel like we do keep talking about, I mean, are we all in agreement then that it needs to be the 75 and to stay in the room?
Well, I maintain ditches, private ditches.
Again, I know that was discussed last month with that, even though that was on the 10th, but
Private ditches.
I'm in agreement, Jenny.
I'm in. So,
Tim, you think we could, defend it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Out of respect for our residents in Pulaski County, for our drainage department, I say we try to defend it. If we don't start defending something, we may as well give them everything. And I know these were other boards that made these decisions, but they were done very sloppily.
well, what do we want to do? We want to approve it or deny it or what?
Well, what are we, exactly what are we? I mean, we're just talking about it right now, so
Is there any room to go back to the table with the contractors and companies and say, hey, what wiggle room do we have here to get you outside 75 feet? I guess
well, yeah.
That was my point. Getting it
Definitely the other three.
Yeah.
Permits, the three companies, talking and telling them our officials with our attorney, BS, that our officials is 75 feet, so. They
Verbally.
hear it, they go right in. And
right, wrong, or
different,
yes.
BS to work with.
or I would even write in there and not build upon 75.
Here,
Yeah.
as for the new wording of the
I say at this point, based on Wednesday's meeting, they are making some changes to where they're going to put this. But I think we have to demand that we are not just going to walk out and have them give us a little tour of where they're changing this to, and then the engineering plans come later. And Tim agreed. He said that is not how this is done. These are engineering plans. The engineering plan needs to be presented. It needs to be approved before you continue. If we don't hold them to that, then we're going to get whatever we get, because it's going to be, we just lose. And I think that's what they would like. I caught that in the conversation, that we would like for you to just come look at it and give us the thumbs up. But without the engineering plans, we are not doing our due diligence as a drainage board. So
That's
those
not
should be
75
required.
feet.
Then we wait on, that they continue until the engineering plans have been approved.
Why
Mike.
make a motion
Hmm.
just to table?
Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm going to interrupt for a second. I was looking at the language under B, but there's other language I want to read. For Article 1, sorry to interrupt you like that, sir. But I wanted to also, on page 3 at the top, there was a paragraph, and I knew I'd lost track of this paragraph. I was looking at the other one. I'm concerned with the language. You get down to about the third line down, accuracy of the drain location map within 30-day period. The drain location map shall be deemed accepted by the drainage board, So then authorize the developer to install infrastructure within, intersecting over and upon certain drains as identified, et cetera, and encroach within the county's 75-foot drainage maintenance rights of way. They're provided on the drainage location map. Those two spots, and I wanted to point out this second spot, and I apologize for not keeping that in mind earlier. This second spot with that language, I knew I was grasping here, trying to find that. This is the one that influenced me the most. I want to bring this at least to your attention, because how the first paragraph under article, or this B, can be interpreted two ways. And I could argue this, Mr. Street, I could argue this and litigate this one way or the other and probably flip a coin. This second part about infrastructure and intersecting over and upon, that language to me is pretty definitive. And I think that's where we get knocked down a little bit with that language. Page 3 up at the top.
Commercial.
It is not section 1.3, it is above that. So look up about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 lines up from that. It starts, there's no complete sentence there. Actually, poor grammar, it's a run-on sentence if I ever saw one. But
are they referring to the underground cables encroaching on the 75 feet?
well, I can't say that. It just says that the developer will be authorized to install infrastructure within, intersecting over and upon certain private drains, open drains or tile drains, and encroach within the county's 75-foot drainage rights of way as established under statute. So that language bothered me a lot more than anything. Taken as a whole, I think you can argue that it might be just pertaining to how it's going to affect drainage to the, but that language about infrastructure and going over and upon and those kind of things certainly is relevant to the whole conversation. And I apologize for having to miss that.
And Tim, that is on the drain location map. So this would have been the map that they would have, that their engineers would have provided to the drainage board, correct?
I would assume so.
And Jenny, when you reviewed the drainage maps, did you notice anywhere on those maps them encroaching within the 75 feet? I mean, so my question is, are they building this where their maps and where their engineered maps say they were going to build this?
I did not see any encroachments within the 75 foot on the maps.
So the question again is, likewise with the 150-foot setbacks that we've discussed, are they following their original plans, or are they changing these plans? Have they altered them since 2022? Because you're saying you don't remember seeing any 75 feet.
Yeah, I mean, if they're altered, I haven't seen any encroachments.
So when you went out to look at these ditches, did you have you guys had those with you, didn't you? You had the map with you? Casey had it, or who had those?
So when we went out to review, what we did was we had those, like binoculars where that measured the distances and stuff. So instead of like my measuring wheel, is that, I mean, the grass was taller than us at certain points and bumpy and stuff. So yeah, so that's what we used to measure the distances. We didn't, we just kind of drove around at certain points. If I said, hey, stop here, let's look, you know, if it didn't look right or whatever.
But they didn't take the maps out? I would think you'd have to have the maps to be able to corroborate what they're doing with what the engineering plans state, correct?
Well, I guess, I see what you're saying, yes.
I mean, if the maps show that they're, you know, if the drainage board approved maps where the developer was within that 75 feet of the ditch, and the language in the contract reads, Tim, like you're saying it reads, then the county may not have as good a opportunity to defend what's happening. But if the original maps, if they're not following the original engineering maps, which I can't imagine they wouldn't, but I think that would be the only way to know for certain. They don't bring the maps, which is what concerned me about them saying, well, come on out, we'll let you look at it. No. I want to see your engineering map. So if they don't have those when you're going out looking, I don't know how you can just, that seems very vague to me. So,
Well, I guess going out there was, I knew they had to be 75 feet, you know, regardless.
but if their plans don't show that and the plans were approved, you see what I mean? If the drainage plans are shorter than 75 feet and they were approved by the drainage board, then we do have a more difficult time of defending it. But without seeing the original plans, it would be hard to know.
I re-asked you the question. No, not you, Jacob.
Oh, I thought it was.
I'll put you on the spot.
In review, I don't know if we reviewed the other day, that we reviewed those plans, just recently, Carla had asked, did you guys know this? I mean, everything showed that 70, there was like no close on 75. I mean, even their thinking of trees showed 75.
You were right, their standard detail shows 75 feet back from the top bank and then for fencing. And then on the original plans that they submitted, we had a comment that requested that they put on their plans a 75-foot right of way from top to bank. I haven't seen any additional plans come back and show those lines on the plans, but I know that was requested back in 2022, that first round of
Yeah, I don't know if any of those regulations were ever,
right, yeah, this agreement was already approved before we did the review, so everything was a suggestion.
like, and as far as, they probably did not move very far this particular sort of situation. Because I know it was, the attorney at that time was upset, like, I've never seen this document, no recommendation before and stuff, so, yeah, there's issues like that. But yeah, so like I said, as far as I know, the setbacks were supposed to be 75 feet.
But Jacob, you're saying you did see the plans? You did see those original plans in 20?
Original preliminary plans that were submitted to the building department, on the first round, again, this is years ago, post. Approved, my understanding, because we had some suggestions on the agreements as well. But those plans, we made a comment that, we recommend they show those easement right-of-way lines on the plans. Because it shows some of the legal drains, not all the legal drains, they weren't all called out, because that was another comment we had. We commented that they call out all the legal drains and show the right-of-way lines delineated for those drains. And I haven't seen any really revised plans that show those. Just in the original comment that we gave them.
Okay, so talk to me like a third grader here, I'm sorry. So when you saw those original plans, they did encroach? There were areas where it did encroach or it did not encroach?
Tell because how their things are done is they're done on aerials, so you're looking at a 300 scale plan, and there's no dimensions shown. So in order to identify what that is, you need to have at least the contour elevation of that top of bank or some generalized line that you're using to delineate where those easements are. You can't tell if there's a person if there's no line.
Carla did a lot of engineering, trying to, that was too.
Right, you're looking at a granulated area.
Right. Yes. Okay, so, sure. And you don't recall ever getting that? Okay, so the drainage board would have approved these plans based on aerial views that they really couldn't even see. Is that what you're telling me? Without requesting the specific ones, the ones that really hone in, that are enlarged, the drainage board would not be able to have truly known if they were 75 feet back or not. Any way we can get those that are enlarged?
Even if you enlarge it, they don't make aerials that have to be less than 5 with the drone or something to that magnitude. So what you would need is a survey showing where those lines are at, or a county GIS where you can get things at, correct? You could use that as a starting point and pull some like foot wide, well, that would exclude some things and sort of like wide at the same time. But you can get a rough determination based off of the GIS. But to get down to, inches deep, it's certainly do it. That's the line there, certainly. So I think you just adjust 2 foot contours and areas.
Well, much easier and much easier to manipulate, in my opinion, where you're going to put things, which is sad.
Think it our turn.
So can, in my email, refer, like, that is the determination of the drainage board, because the last time I emailed about stopping for fences, like, I was pretty much shunned, like, nobody responded,
They build the fence, they're gonna get dirt.
got back with me, I mean,
I did.
yeah, you did, I mean, as far as like attorneys or, anybody other than,
Tim, would you be willing to alter that?
Sure. I didn't know when you said our attorney, Mike, if you were here,
Yeah,
or
you,
Jacob Ayler.
because they're drainage.
Okay.
Looking at this agreement, it says drainage board and surveyor. So that's where I think.
But and I understand that, but how this came to the drainage board was with Mr. Tankersley sitting over there, and he and I reviewed it beforehand, and it had been reviewed by the 3 commissioners outside of their capacities. I mean, it'd been looked at several times before it ever got to the drainage board tables. So, I mean, yes, I absolutely agree with you, Don. Let's do it from here and I'll be involved on that. But how it got here, it had been reviewed several times before it ever got voted on by the drainage board commission.
Looking at it, I read it, emailed it, looked at it before, but there are multiple ways to interpret this. And it is, we don't hear anything for 30 days, 15 days, that number varies as well. Then everyone interprets that it's good, but it could have been 5 times.
That's why it's really important to read this, let it sit, go back and read it again, go back and read it again, because emotions and moods, all reasoning, all affects how we interpret and read from these pages. So I highly suggest that the board do go back and read it over once or twice and let it rest and see how it reads again and how it interpreted by you yourselves based on what we talked about.
And even on page 5, under Article 5, the rate repair, the last few sentences, Section 5, damage to any county home or regulated drainage tile or open ditch may also include damages occurring within the county's 75 foot dangerous right of way. Under the code, such damage usually denies due to effects the county's ability to exercise grazing lands. Then it's right away results in additional costs to the county. I don't think it's referring to the contractor or the owner. And paying that cost as well. So there's a lot of, as you said, so we could argue with it.
Oh, but I'll work with you.
Okay. We'll move on. Approve minutes.
I've read the minutes from July 21st. I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second?
Second on approval.
Aye.
Make a motion, please.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Other business?
Where's, that was coming.
We sent out notices last month to landowners that we had crews on site, doing field work and survey. We just have started that and getting it, in the process, as well as initial notices have been sent out to utilities in the area so that they can let us know where their utilities are on site, as well as, general location and depth, so that we can kind of design around that. And then we put together, I'll call 30% plans here, this month, and we'll sit down with Jimmy to make sure we're in agreement with the running line as well as limits of the project. We want to I said end of this year was the plans, but one of the things that we can discuss preliminary done is Army Corps is changing their permitting process. So the 41144s will have to file for work within the waterway, for the outlet of the tile. We either file this year and then have to refile next year. Once the changes are made, or we can hold off on filing those until January. So this is not gonna happen this fall.
The only other thing under other business, John Weasel, so he's not here, but he was here last month, in regards to my recommendation of the designed sub-irrigation structure for him to put in. I got a price from Pratco, we're looking at roughly, $1,300, but that might change, depth of the tile because it's designed specifically for that. It's got a 6-inch tile. So roughly 1,300, and then add approximately another $1,000 for installation. So, I don't know, I mean, I know when you think about it, he only has one tile. Is one tile that goes into the sub-irrigation structure. And out of his 40 acres, you're maybe like, what? We only got just a 10-foot swath of a 40-acre tract that actually may benefit from sub-irrigation. So, to me, the benefit is very low, especially how much it's going to cost to put that in. That's my opinion, and I don't feel that the other, just for one person to sub-irrigate, that strictly benefits, that the other people in the watershed should pay for that, being installed. That's my opinion.
Oh, why don't you just let them know that he
I'll pitch.
yeah,
I
because
said we've discussed
Start that, just so you know, we're doing one.
well, I'd rather,
He himself, he'd be responsible for find the structure and installation. Yes, I could. The contractor would be John's Brothers, and they installed the original tile anyway. But yes, I mean, I could be out there while that's being done as
Would
well.
that be stipulation or do you work for it? Or should something, if it's not done correctly, or anyone, then you do have the same situation with the project.
Yeah, I mean, if he does it, he's strictly all on his own, as far as financially and changing
It don't
repairs.
work, but as long as it don't interfere.
Correct, that's, you know, and now the structure is designed for where, because it has holes already in there, where like if, like the last time he plugged it, and he forgot to take the plugs out, it flooded in those neighborhoods were able to kayak in that water. So it affected very large areas, so what this is designed for is if, you know, we get a lot of water and stuff, then that water can come through those holes and still get away and not flood. So,
I would agree with anyone who do that, and do it. I'm not talking about John, I'm talking about anyone who
okay,
makes a change like that. It's not done correctly, and we need to call it.
right. You know, and that's another thing too, I would really need to see the brand new tile get cut into just for, you know, for any of these purposes after we spend that much money too, so just to kind of protect the tile as well. But, I mean, if someone is going to do it, I would hope they do it the proper way.
Hey, any other business?
Can I make one comment? I think moving forward, we've done a little bit of talking, but I'm looking at possible, I don't know why we still do 150 feet setback on everything. Ditches, roads, everything, take everything, make it like it. I talked to Jenny, you're at 75 feet, there's a height, there could be some trees, it could be pretty tall, but you fall right into that 75 feet. It'll make it hard to get around and clean some of these ditches that haven't been maintained or something. Rudy knows, he's.
I was listening to all that, doing my job. When you just go to 100 feet, then you got 75, work pretty well without any headaches, and you're over and done. Then if you're off a foot or two, you're not, it's not the end of the world. If you want to go 100.
I just
75.
look at 150 that way.
I see, I'm saying the same thing.
You know, less
Scale. It would guarantee 75 is always.
Those other,
Then you
Well, some of
don't
the
fight
other
over.
counties. Those some of the other counties.
They got at least 75, and that would be the minimum. Our setbacks,
I agree with you.
Well, that's how, like, we agree, that's how I proposed it.
That does away with the fighting over inches and feet. You know what I mean? It really does.
Well, that's the bad. We were bombarded with all of this, and nobody knew anything. We should have had a one-on-one class on a lot of stuff, and we did it, and it's unfortunately been a tough learning experience for everybody. And hopefully going forward, we can improve all this.
just keep in mind 150 is okay for some things, but the recommended for battery energy storage is 300. So for what's up and coming, that is why we need a moratorium. Safety for everybody, 300 feet is considered the minimum.
Public comment?
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.